All right, guys, welcome to our next episode of Native MMA Radio. Waleed's going to back up for us for a second so we can see him better in the camera. But we are back, man. We are here to discuss UFC 252. What a great fight. It ended the trilogy. Honestly, one of the best trilogies I've seen in the UFC of all time. Waleed, how would you rank it?
Yeah, I would rank it down there, like maybe one of the best, yeah.
I mean, especially when you think about everything that was involved in it, and not every single trilogy has ever involved a title in every single fight. Not every single trilogy has been a main event of every single event. This fight had every single one of those boxes checked.
Was it the trilogy with more eye pokes? I feel so.
Yes, and I really feel like the eye pokes played a significant factor in all three fights.
Exactly.
Especially the first fight. I feel like, the eye poke on DC, or the eye poke that DC gave to Stipe, kind of disabled Stipe for a minute, and then he gets knocked out, 60 seconds later. The second one, DC got Stipe again, and I really feel like it pissed off Stipe.
Yeah.
Well, now he was like, oh, I'm going to fuck you up now. And he really turned it on. It was the third round where he started, throwing those huge body shots to DC in the second fight. Ended up dropping him in the fourth. And in the fifth round, I really think that Daniel Cormier came in with the wrong game plan. Personally, if you ask me, I wouldn't have taken that approach to try to stand with Stipe Miocic again. You've seen what happened in the second fight. When you stand with Stipe, yes, you did get the lucky punch in the first fight, but when you are an Olympic caliber wrestler like DC is, why take the risk in your final fight? Why not just go out there and get the victory like you can?
I don't know, man. I think he really needs to answer this question because it's the most bizarre and intriguing question that I think every MMA fan is asking himself. Why didn't he try to take him down? Didn't make sense. I think that it was Joe Rogan who asked him after the fight that why didn't go for the wrestling. He said that like his legs, they were not there. Like Stipe really, like his stand-up game was like Stipe, like DC cannot shoot for a takedown. Why not take the risk? I feel like, and he said it in the clinch, which was the most important thing. Stipe looked better than DC on the clinch.
100%. I mean, Stipe obviously and his team came up with the game plan to push DC against the fence. It's hard to go ahead and get that takedown when you don't have that open space. Yeah. So Stipe had the perfect game plan going into this trilogy fight. Now, it's ironic that Daniel Cormier retires on Saturday. It's really not even the biggest news right now in MMA. You and I have sat down and talked about this yesterday. Jon Jones has really overshadowed everything that DC and Stipe have done this weekend. Jon Jones, if you guys have been living under a rock, has vacated the light heavyweight title to go ahead and let that division continue without him. Yeah. And he has decided that he is going to go ahead and take his talents to the heavyweight division. If I'm the UFC, I sign right now on the dotted line, Stipe versus Jon Jones. UFC, I'm talking to you guys directly now. If you guys have not realized the mistakes of your past with, not being able to get GSP and Anderson Silva done, not being able to get people like Dominic Cruz and Jose Aldo to ever fight, we're talking about two dominant champions of two divisions. I get that Ngannou is there and deserving. You have Jon Jones willing to take this fight. You book Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic right now.
Well, listen, I think, let me ask you this. Who do you think that it's a bigger pay-per-view draw? Stipe against Jon Jones or Ngannou versus Jon Jones?
Stipe versus Jon Jones. But if Jon Jones has the heavyweight title versus Francis Ngannou, then I think that might be a bigger draw. I think if Francis takes the title off of Stipe, it kind of loses the mystique that a Jones and a Stipe would have over a Jones and a Ngannou. You have to understand, at this point in time, Stipe Miocic is what we consider the baddest man on the planet. And he's really proven that. He knocked out Verdum. He's beaten the who's who in the heavyweight division. Great strikers like Alistair Overeem. DC is probably one of the best grapplers we've ever seen. He already beat Ngannou once. So I understand Ngannou's frustration in wanting to be next. I just think the UFC has to learn from the mistakes in the past and sign that Jon Jones fight right away.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I think that's the match to make somehow. Even if for me, I feel like Francis will be robbed because I feel like he deserves the title fight right now. But like you said, a rematch against the Black Beast, if the Black Beast wins against Curtis Blade, that kind of also makes
It's a great
sense. And
fight too.
yeah, he will make money out of it for sure. Francis will make money out of it, but
And I mean, I understand that Francis has gone in and he's legitimately like murdered people in this octagon. But if guys like Lewis and Blades keep throwing their names in the hats and keep beating contenders, I mean, I don't understand what Francis is doing. And if Francis needs to sign on the dotted line for somebody, and if it's not going to be Jon Jones or Francis or Stipe Miocic, he needs to find the next available guy and go ahead and just take him out one time.
either way, Francis, even if they don't give him Stipe, for sure he will fight the winner of Stipe against Jon Jones.
Oh, 100%. I think he's done enough already to earn that. And it was just an interesting moment. And I feel like Jon Jones perfectly timed that to overshadow DC. I really feel like he was just, nudging at his former rival with the, I'm going to vacate right now. And I'm going to go ahead and decide to jump to heavyweight.
Yeah. He knows how to make a big statement. He knows how to do it, Jon Jones.
No, for sure. Now, we're talking about some big statements. Kai Kamaka in the very first fight in this card really made a big statements against Tony Kelly in the featherweight division. The 5 takedowns I thought were really the significant factor of the fight. Kelly did outstrike Kai, but obviously, like I said, those 5 takedowns were just brutal. 114 significant strikes for both guys. So even there, it was a pretty good performance by both of them. What did you think of the performance by Kai Kamaka? And what do you think's next for him in the featherweight division?
Listen, it was a very interesting. It got fight of the night, which is pretty rare for the first fight of the early prelims to get. I feel like doesn't happen a lot, but it was the fight of the night, and rightly so. I feel like it was a great fight, but I don't know. I feel like the main event was better, but in any event, I feel like it was the best way to start this card because the fight was really interesting. Kai Kamaka looked great. What's next for him? I don't know, but I'm sure that next for him will be some great things. Another Hawaiian, another maybe star in the making.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even mind seeing him against Danny Chavez, who beat TJ Brown later on in the night. That would be an interesting matchup. Chris Duakis took out Parker Porter in the very first round. It was dirty too. I really thought Parker was going to be able to be the bigger man. He's a thicker guy for sure. He definitely weighs more than Chris. Chris, honestly, I think could be a light heavyweight if you just trim down a little more. But it was when you're knocking guys out like that, why change, right?
Yeah, exactly. And listen, it was a fight between 2 big guys, and one of them got caught. And this is what happened when you get caught. You get knocked out.
Yeah, I mean, Parker Porter has beaten some big guys too, like Gabriel Gonzaga. So being able to take somebody out like that, it's a huge feather in your cap.
Yeah, exactly. In such a great card like this, yeah.
Yeah, huge card. Obviously they had a lot of star power put on the top of this card, but they had a lot of developing stars as well going on these prelims. We'll talk about more about a certain young lady who I really feel like is the future of her division. But, that was the end of the early prelims. First fight in the preliminary portion of the cards, Ashley Yoder versus Olivier Souza. And I know you're a big fan of Ashley Yoder. Unfortunately, she lost to Olivier Souza. Olivier Souza is a beast. She could probably make atomweight if they brought the division over, honestly. She's so small. But she's one of them, even though she's small. She uses her speed and her size to her advantage, like Tisha Torres used to do in the very beginning of her UFC career.
Yeah.
I really feel like Olivier Souza is an evolution of Tisha Torres at this point.
Well, like you said, her speed was the number one factor. She was so fast, and she didn't stop. That's what make her win this fight. That's what I feel like. The pressure she was putting on, and Ashley fought very good, but it's just like the precision of Olivia was better.
Yeah, especially I like that you use the word precision. When you have pressure like she had, and you're able to connect the way that she does, it makes it for a really long night for your opponent.
I really feel like the significant strike, like it was the big difference. Like Ashley Yoder only 28% of significant strike, which is not good compared to Souza, who had like 65%, which was way better, you know. So she was more and more precise than her.
Yes, and then plus the one takedown Olivier scored really just drove her over the end of the third.
Yeah.
In the next matchup, Danny Chavez, aka Chavo Guerrero, took out TJ Brown in the unanimous decision victory. Listen. TJ Brown has lost both of his UFC fights. That kid is fucking exciting to watch.
Yeah.
Okay. He had an amazing performance in his last fight against Jordan Griffin. He had an amazing performance here against Danny Chavez. Listen, I know there's cuts coming up in the UFC. If they cut TJ Brown, I think that is a travesty. I understand the guy has lost twice, but he is such an exciting fighter that you got to keep people like him on the roster.
Well, Dana actually really like those kind of fighters that every time you bring them on the table, they perform very well. So I'm not sure that Dana will cut him. I feel like there's maybe other people who are on that list that should be, you know, cut down more than him, more than TJ. So I'm not sure about that because every time he fight TJ Brown, like you say, he brings it. So I'm not sure that Dana will cut him out. I'm not sure.
Now, probably the most impressive performance in my, eyes, Verna Jandiroba. I fucked that up. Jandiroba.
Yeah.
We exactly. Practiced this before the show too, and I still messed it up. She looked amazing, man. One takedown, 2 submission attempts, 4 significant strikes on the entire night. That's all she needed. She scored an amazing armbar on somebody who doesn't get caught that very easily. Felicia Herring is definitely one of the more resilient fighters. It took all of 1 minute and 44 seconds to throw that all out the window.
Yeah, Vina, she really looks like someone on another level. Felicia Herring really looked outclassed, and it doesn't happen a lot. I saw her maybe got outclassed by Karolina Kovacevic, but this time against Virna, it was a whole other deal because
it really looked like there was completely different levels in this fight. Like it looked like we were talking about somebody who possibly just got in the UFC, not a UFC veteran fighting somebody who has amazing Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Amazing.
Yeah. You know, she outclassed her in every aspect, striking wise, takedown, on the ground, just better and very exciting. This Verna Jandiroba fighter is, so really excited to see what's next for her.
Yeah, Jandiroba, I mean, in this strawweight division could really make some noise. One interesting matchup I seen in the strawweight division that I wanted to talk about, and it just popped in my mind right now, so we'll talk about it. Claudia Gadelha is fighting Jan. I'm not gonna try to say Jan's last name. It's like Xing Yang.
Yeah.
Listen, Jan is a beast. She's probably one of the best fighters that you don't know about right now. And it's really disheartening that we don't know more about Jan. I mean, she killed Karolina Kovacevic, murdered her, battered her face. She fucked up her eye, and then she just kept punching her in the eye. She's ruthless. I love women like that. Jan, I honestly really feel like is going to be the UFC strawweight champion one day. I cannot wait for Verna versus Jan one day down the road.
There's some interesting matchup in that division.
Hell yeah. Now, one guy who doesn't cease to amaze me at all, he's from hell, Vince Pichel, man. He went out there and put on a great performance against Jim Miller. You know, not a lot of people are successful at taking Jim Miller down. Vince Pichel was able to do it 3 times. Yeah. He had the significant strike total for Vince Pichel was 84 to Jim Miller's 26. So no one really ever, stifles Jim Miller like that. Significant strikes for Vince Pichel, 41. Vince Pichel, fun fact, lives down the street from my dad.
Oh, nice. It was impressive. It was a very impressive. It was maybe the biggest surprise for me of the fight. Maybe for other people, the biggest surprise was the co-main event, but I wasn't that surprised. But this one, I really was surprised. I feel like Jim Miller, with all his experience, will be able to control the fight. But Vince, look, he really performed very well.
Outside of injury, Vince Pichel is a top 15 lightweight. The only thing that's stopping him from being there is the fact that he's been injured a lot.
Yeah.
He was injured before his Roy Roberts fight, came back. He looked great against Roberts. Got injured again. Here he goes. He comes back. He looks great against Jim Miller. If Vince Pichel can stay healthy, that dude is scary.
He is. Really.
And he's from hell.
Yeah, he is from hell. So, yeah, another reason to be scary.
No, for sure, 100%. I really feel like the sky's the limits for that dude. I mean, you don't just do that to Jim Miller. Nobody does that to Jim Miller.
Nobody.
Unless your name is fucking Charles Oliveira. But that guy's on a whole different level.
Yeah.
Now, the very first fight of the main card, man, it was a great fight. I'm super impressed by both of these gentlemen. We got to talk about the 18 takedown defenses of John Dodson, not the 2 takedowns from Merab. I mean, there were situations where Merab was picking John Dodson up and slamming him on the ground. Yeah. And John Dodson was like a tennis ball. You throw it on the ground, he bounced right back up. He's so quick, man. It's so hard to keep him down. It's ridiculous. When you see people like that who are able to be that fast and still, and like we're talking like midair, he was able to rearrange his body so he could pop himself back up.
I mean, he's still fast.
Bro, I can't even get my leg underneath me that quick.
Yeah. That's crazy that he's still that fast. Like he was back in the days when he was in the Ultimate Fighter. Yeah, that's the good thing. But he's still fast. And I feel like the great thing about this fight is Merab, to really show how great of a fighter he is, he needed a dance partner who was on that level that can show. Yeah.
Let me put it to you this way. Okay. I've been in class before where we've had to take takedown after attempted 20. Yeah. 20. Like, think about the amazing cardio this dude is to just try to attempt 20 takedowns. Listen, if you guys don't listen to me, get a buddy, go outside, try to take him down 20 times. Let me know how tired you are.
Yeah, and add to that the fighting aspect, the striking, everything, because it's not just throwing. Like, just throwing 20 takedowns in 15 minutes is like, you will get really tired. I'm not sure even if it's possible for some people to do. But listen, I really enjoyed the fight. I feel like Joe Dodson, like you said, it was a pleasant surprise the way he defended.
Both gentlemen
the way he defended those takedowns. Merab, I feel like it wasn't a surprise, but more of a confirmation about his level, which was great. I'm very excited about him. I feel like he will add something very, very interesting to this division.
Yeah, I really feel like he's going to be trouble for a lot of people. No one has that gas tank like he does. His nickname's the Motor?
Yeah.
It's fitting.
The machine.
The machine. Sorry. Yeah, he's definitely like a machine. One of probably the most cardio freak guys that we've ever seen in the UFC. And he's a grappling expert at that. So, I mean,
yeah,
be careful. The bantamweight division is on notice. Merab Dvalishvili is coming for you.
He's coming hot.
Now, another interesting fight for me, Herbert Burns missed weight on Friday night, Friday afternoon, sorry. He still proceeded with his fight with Daniel Pineda. Daniel Pineda put on a one-sided performance against the grappling expert, Herbert Burns. Herbert just looked tired in the fight. He was TKO'd 4 minutes and 37 seconds into the second round by Daniel Pineda. This is Daniel's very first fight back in the UFC. If you guys remember Pineda at all, he was in the PFL playoffs last year. He made it all the way to the finals, but a tainted supplement took him out of the finals. He was eventually cleared from any misdoing in that situation. He was not able to participate in the finals against Laz Palmer, but he got a pretty good consolation prize here. He ended up going to the UFC instead, fighting a Herbert Burns and getting a performance on the night bonus on a UFC 252's main card. I mean, if you need to showcase your talent and you're in a situation like this is the time to do it. Listen, they moved this fight just for Herbert Burns to shine. And Daniel Pineda went in there and stole all of that spotlight.
Yeah. It was great. Listen, after all these drama he had on PFL, I feel like maybe it started the fire inside him, and that's what we saw. His performance against Burns was amazing. It was a surprise, also maybe the second surprise of this event, because I feel like everybody had Burns winning this fight, which is
Listen, I did a parlay with Burns, Davishvili, Rosenstrike, O'Malley, DC. I got fucked up early. It was bad.
It
was all bad.
It happens. Yeah. No, but sometimes you call out something. You said this is my prediction, and it goes to shit. It happens to me so many times. I can't even think about how many times. But yeah, great performance by Daniel, and for him, I feel like after this performance, sky is the limit for him.
Yeah, 100%. I really feel like he definitely deserved a rank opponent next. I would love to see him against that, 10 through 15 range. Even if we want to go a little bit outside of that, 10 through 18, I really feel like he deserves somebody like that. And we need to showcase his talent. This is his second stint back in the UFC. He learned from his mistake last time, obviously. Now he's here to finish people.
Yeah.
In the heavyweight division, the big boys throw it down. It only took 2 rounds for Jairzinho Rozenstruik to go ahead and knock out Junior Dos Santos. Dirty 2 up against the cage, puts him out, legitimately put him out. It was, we talk about Francis, and Francis is on another level, but Jairzinho's right below him. I mean, it's just scary, the amount of power that Jairzinho Rozenstruik has in his hands. And his kickboxing is so good with his counter striking. I really feel like that was the, big difference in the fight. Every time, JDS tried to load up with a big punch, Rozenstruik was there first.
Yeah. And he doesn't rush for that, that big blow like maybe Derek Lewis or Francis Ngannou do. Because of his kickboxing experience, I feel like he can wait. He waited till the second round really to rush for that for those big punches, because JDS was staying on the outside. But man, the power he has, and the fact that Ngannou just walked through those punches to knock him out is really show how Ngannou is special. But I like the image where after he knocked him out, like he sat down next to him, like. What happened? Yeah, I like this.
Well, they're
I feel
teammates
like
as well.
Yeah.
Before the fight, Junior Dos Santos asked Jairzinho if he wanted to spar for the fight.
That's crazy. I feel like JDS,
I feel like that should have been talked about more. Like that's crazy. You never hear about that. You hear about guys fighting from the same gym, and it literally normally has one guy leaving the gym. Yeah. You've seen it happen with Mike Perry and Cowboy when they were both at Jackson. Now, neither one of them are at Jackson, but it's an interesting situation that both of these guys were able to put their egos inside and realize that they were in a profession that one day they might have to fight. And you know what? Dana White or Mick Maynard called them and gave them each other's name, and they both accepted on the dotted line. They weren't worried about all the other drama that it, could possibly create in the background. They weren't worried about that. It was a paycheck for both of them. They both went out there. It looked very good, and it really shoots Jairzinho up into that upper echelon of the heavyweight division.
Yeah, he is moving up again and again, and you know that Derek Lewis is fighting Curtis Blade next, so who knows? Maybe the winner of that will face him.
Who says both those guys even are able to make it?
Exactly.
He could step in.
Exactly. And it will be interesting to see him against any of those two guys.
No, for sure. I want to see him against Blades. I feel like Blades is the biggest, asterisk in the division, because you don't know what outside of him fighting Francis Ngannou, the dude's lights out.
Yeah. Exactly.
Lights out. Perfect.
I feel like Curtis Blades can beat anyone in this division except for Ngannou.
I feel like Ngannou just has this power over him at this point.
It's just a bad matchup for him.
Yeah, but and I really think it's a lot mental too as well. Like, oh fuck, I gotta fight Ngannou again.
Exactly.
That's my way to the title.
Yeah.
Would you be surprised if somebody like Curtis Blades went to Bellator?
Why? Why the fuck would he move to Bellator?
You get sponsorship money, and you get the opportunity to hold the belt. Realistically, are you going to get that third fight with Francis Ngannou if he's a champion? And how long is it going to take?
I'm not sure.
Ask Joseph Benavidez how long it took him to get another rematch.
Listen, if they give him an offer and they pay him more, why not? But
You see a
I'm not
lot of
sure.
guys who were, right there on the upper echelon, but maybe not make it over the hump to be the champion leaving. You've seen it happen. Last week Corey Anderson did the same exact thing. I could see somebody like Curtis Blaze making that jump to Bellator.
Yeah, but Curtis Blade, Corey Anderson, like went to Bellator after a loss, So maybe Curtis Blade, if he loses to the Black Beast, maybe he will, maybe then he will go. But if he wins, he will still have in his head that maybe the title fight is next.
Possible. Well, I mean, he's been thinking that for this past like 7 fights, so I mean, can't get that out of his head.
Yeah.
The Sugar Show was not quite on full effect on Saturday night. Marlon Chito Vera ends up getting the first round finish, 4 minutes and 40 seconds into that fight. You and I talked about the finish. Obviously, Herb Dean was going in there to protect the fighter. He didn't think Sean O'Malley was out. I know Marlon Chito Vera has came out and said that he put him out. I didn't see that personally.
No.
Herb Dean, I really feel like was stepping in to, just save Sean O'Malley from any further damage to his leg. No. Did you see the Brett Primus versus Michael Chandler fight where the same exact thing happened to Chandler? Primus won the fight.
Yeah, I remember.
That's my biggest takeaway from it is watching that fight. I see it's happened now a handful of times. Henry Cejudo was obviously able to work through it in that Marlon Moraes fight. Obviously, Marlon Chito Vera hit Sean O'Malley in the perfect spot to have a little nerve damage, and that's what it was. In my opinion, I think it's nerve damage, and it's something that he'll work through. Michael Chandler got hit with the same shot against Brett Primus. Brett Primus ended up winning that fight. Marlon Moraes ended up winning this fight, Marlon Vera, but there's a rematch, I think. And I think it's the one fight that you definitely have to run back at UFC 252. I said it. It was one of my 3 biggest takeaways from the event. I really feel like Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Vera 2 is going to happen. And I really feel like it's going to be a much different outcome this time.
I have so many questions about this fight. First of all, I want to ask you, do you think that he got hurt because of Marlon checking his kicks, or he got hurt because of the way he did that weird move where his foot was stuck in the ground or whatever?
Well, I think his foot was stuck because of a kick that he checked. He kicked the check, where Marlon was able to land the kick, it caused a little bit of a cramping / nerving problem in his foot. I've had it happen to me before. It sucks. It sucks balls. Like you can't even stand on it.
I know.
And so the fact that he was able even to try to continue to defend and just try to work it out, my hat's off to Sean O'Malley.
He tried, but my first reaction to you was send you a message, tell you that Herb Dean shouldn't have stopped the fight. He could wait. Maybe sure Sean O'Malley would have some guillotine choke or whatever. That's what I thought. But after that, I feel like he was too much in pain. So now I want to ask you, Ben Askren and a bunch of if Cody Garbrandt take a shot out of Sean O'Malley, it makes sense. Ben Askren
been going at each other forever.
Ben Askren said that Sean O'Malley should have he lost, he couldn't stand the pain, but he should have had go out to the locker room walking on one leg like Mercy Barber did. Or
from what I understood, it was the UFC who pressured O'Malley to get on the stretcher. It wasn't O'Malley's choice. He wanted to walk out.
Yeah.
The UFC made obviously they see what they have in O'Malley. They're not dumb. They see that this kid is money. So why risk it? Why risk it? What if he injures his foot even more walking on it? We don't know.
There's not even a crowd. There's not even a crowd to do that kind of type of warrior thing when you're walking, even though you're injured. There's no crowd. Why he trying to hype anyone doing it walking? He can't. I don't know why Ben Askren.
Askren's just be trying to get in the spotlight for any fucking reason at this point.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't know. It took 5 seconds to make him irrelevant, and he's trying to be relevant in any other way.
Second injury for Sean O'Malley in 2 fights in the UFC. Do you think that maybe he has some issues where he's the type of fighter that will get injured many times?
Listen, I'm not ready to call him a Derrick Rose for those of you who understand the NBA reference.
Yeah.
I don't think that he's that guy yet. If If he comes back from this injury and gets injured again soon, we're gonna have to start talking about it. But at this point, I think this one was just a freak accident. But listen, let's not take anything away from Marlon Vera. Okay.
Exactly.
I want to talk about that real quick because I feel like a lot of people are discrediting Marlon Vera. Marlon Vera still kicked Sean O'Malley in the leg. Marlon Vera still created that nerve damage. Marlon Vera still technically won the fight. So
he won the fight.
For anybody who is sitting here making excuses for Sean O'Malley, it's not valid because Marlon Vera won the fight. It was a situation where he hit him in the nerve, and Sean O'Malley was not able to recoup from that. Marlon Chito Vera did everything in his power to win the fight. It wasn't a situation where he was a dirty fighter in any ways. Yeah. It wasn't a situation where, he did anything ill will to him.
Yeah.
It was Marlon Vera hit him in the right spot, and it was all she wrote. Also, Andre Sukumta, learn from what Marlon Vera did. When you have your opponent hurt, you don't continue to try to bullshit. You make them stand up. You're going to fight me on one leg. We're not going to go to the ground. I could possibly get submitted, or we're just going to grind out the rest of the round. You take him out right then and there. Marlon Chito Vera did just that.
And in the ground, like, he hit him with some bombs, those elbows, those punches. Like, he hit him really with those heavy shots. He hit him with one
clean elbow I thought was for sure going to take O'Malley out. Exactly. It didn't. But let me ask you this. If O'Malley's foot wasn't hurt, does he get those shots off? If his movement isn't, obviously, clearly staffed, was he able to get past him?
I don't know. I feel like that's why
Marlon able to get that angle. And I completely 100% agree with you on that. I feel like you have to run it back.
I agree with you. Yeah, it's like when Badr Hari against Rico, where he was winning the fight, then he got hurt, and it turned out. What do you think? What do you mean? He lost? Yes, he lost, but what if he didn't get injured? So we don't know, because Sean O'Malley, until the injury, looked good. He was looking like he looked every time. O'Malley
hit him with some bigger shots.
Yeah.
O'Malley hit Vettel with some big shots. And
but you could tell can eat. Vera
you can tell that the shots that Vettel was throwing were not as damaging as what O'Malley was able to throw at him. And then he got injured.
Yeah. Whatever. I feel like Marlon Vera deserved this win because he was there. He took those shots and he was still walking through, and kicking, and then Sean O'Malley got injured. He did the right thing. He kept the fight standing up, and when he went to the ground, he hit him with those big shots. Marlon Vera is a very interesting fighter, and in the rematch, it will be very, very interesting to see how it goes.
Yeah, it's definitely got to have a rematch on that one. Yeah. But it really propels both gentlemen. Obviously, it was their both co-main events debuts. A lot of people are going to shit on O'Malley, but that's just what happens every time someone has a lot of hype like them around them, and they lose. You and I said it ourselves. The most toxic fans in sports are MMA fans. We're fucking dickheads, bro.
Very toxic.
We flip-flop on a guy every other week. Like, we could, listen, outside of you flipping on John Jones after what he did, I don't really understand a fighter where you could really flip on him. Like, I was a huge John Jones fan, and then he ran over some fucking pregnant girl in his car. Then I was like, I don't know about John Jones, bro.
Yeah. That difference, okay? That at least you have a reason, a human reason, Sometimes there's no reason. Like
Tony Ferguson, okay? Yeah. I can't stand Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson made a comment on The Ultimate Fighter about another fighter, and he said some shit like, "Where's your kid at?" As a young father myself, when he said that, it turned me off from Tony Ferguson. I fucking hate Tony Ferguson. Fuck that guy.
But it happens. Sometimes you like people, sometimes you hate them. But the crazy thing is when you like someone and you like him very much, and then the next fight is like, I don't know. I don't like him very much now.
A lot of people do that with Conor.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Conor McGregor fan. I think what he's done for this sport and what he's going to continue to do is huge.
Yeah.
I don't understand the hate on him. I mean, I get that he's probably beat some of your favorite fighters. That's probably why you hate him a little bit.
They're too toxic.
You have to, appreciate it too sometimes.
Toxic.
Like, listen, I'm not the biggest Amanda Nunes fan, but I 100% appreciate what she does and what she brings to the table. She is the greatest women's fighter of all time.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about another great of all time. Stipe Miocic has cemented himself as the greatest heavyweight of our decade, if not all time. He is the most winningest heavyweight of all time. He avenged his only title loss twice, and he has now put himself on the precedent of being the greatest of all time, with only one man close to him or in his way, that being John Jones.
Yeah. There's
Stipe
no doubt.
Miocic,
Yeah.
in the first round, gets rocked. And I honestly, wholeheartedly feel if DC would have put pressure on him right then and there, we wouldn't have got out the first round. I really feel like DC was hurting Stipe with the shots that he landed in the first round. Stipe was able to go back, make adjustments, and dominate every single round after. I thought convincingly Stipe won 2, 3, and 5. I thought Stipe still won 4, but it was a lot closer than the other 3.
Yeah, it was very close. The fourth round was very, very close because I feel like both fighters were kind of a little bit tired, and they would just throw like shots at each other. But the way Stipe, like when you watch the first round, you feel like DC is going to kill him in the second. Then in the second round, if I'm not wrong, was
That's when he started pushing him up against the cage.
Yeah. And Stipe looked amazing in that second round, and then he rocked him. I feel like when did he rock him? Was it in the second or the third?
It was like I want to say it was like the end of the second.
Yeah, that's what I think. And then it was crazy.
Daniel kind of fell back into the cage.
We had everything. Like we had in this third fight, we had what we saw in the first round, in the first one when DC goes for the clinch and then throw the overhand. And he did it in the first round. We saw some body shots from Stipe of the second fight in that third fight. We saw all the eye pokes and even more eye pokes. With like in the third fight, really
four eye pokes.
Yeah, crazy and crazy
in the trilogy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So DC hits him with one. What was it in the second round?
I feel so. Yeah.
First or second round, it wasn't that bad. It was like a grazing one. But still caught him nonetheless. But Stipe jammed his finger into DC. Like it was like finger deep into DC's eye, man. It was gnarly. You could tell even after the fight, DC was like this the whole time.
He couldn't see anything, and he said it.
I don't want to take anything away from Stipe and what he was able to do, but I really feel, like I said on our Facebook page, the last eye poke of the DC Stipe trilogy was the biggest one.
Yeah, very significant eye poke. It was almost a knockdown with how bad the eye poke was, but it is what it is. It happens. You can't blame Stipe because we all know that he didn't do it on purpose, and having DC throwing like in the first fight, that eye poke really killed Stipe, and that's why he couldn't perform. So.
And you got to see how long it took for him to even get back. Yeah, eye surgery and all that stuff.
If I'm not wrong, Stipe didn't. DC didn't use the full 1 minute to cover up.
No,
yeah,
he went right back.
I feel like it was a bad thing.
For sure, 100%. I feel like if they would have called the doctor, and they might even stop the fight. I know that's not the way you want to go out, but it's a victory.
Oh,
right?
Maybe that's what he didn't want to, because if they call the doctor, like maybe that's why. But in any event, it was a great fight. I feel like both fighters have their moments, and at some point in the fourth round, it was like, oh, it's going there, it's Stipe now, or no, it's DC. So until the fifth round, it was still a close fight. Great matchup.
I'm glad that it was Stipe winning, because it doesn't leave us with a bunch of questions come Monday morning. You know what I mean? Yeah. We're not figuring out what's going to happen with the title. We're not figuring out if DC is going to run it back one more time. We're not trying to figure out if Stipe deserves a title shot after losing his title.
Yeah.
It's all figured out now. The only thing that we have a huge question mark on now, thanks to John Jones, is who Stipe Miocic is going to defend that title against next.
Yeah, DC's legacy will not, and it couldn't have been written by that fight, because DC already won 2 times the light heavyweight title, if I'm not wrong. He already had He won the heavyweight. He was the double champ at some point. He already had everything. Stipe's legacy is to be the greatest heavyweight of all time, and by winning against DC, he proven that he is the greatest heavyweight of all time. So I feel like that with Stipe winning, both fighters still have like their legacy perfectly clear, like how it should be.
Yeah, no, for sure, 100%. What is your biggest takeaway from UFC 252?
I hope that those new gloves, because they were talking about new gloves. I don't know if you remember.
Curve the hands a little more.
That's what I think. Joe Rogan spoke about them, and he said he didn't really give us what they will look like, but I feel like when the Reebok deal will end, that's where the new gloves will appear. I believe maybe Venom, because they have some crazy gloves. Like Venom, if you go on the website of Venom, you will find some crazy gloves. The quality of the gloves, they are perfect. So if they work on with that, I feel like it would be amazing. But I hope to see less eye pokes in the UFC fights coming up. But overall, man, this card was amazing. I feel like the main card really delivered. We had the main event was amazing. The co-main event was a big surprise for a lot of people. For me, it wasn't really. I feel like I said that Marlon Vera was going to win. And
give me two big surprising performances for you.
For me, the two big surprises were Vince Pichel winning against Jim Miller. That for me was like I didn't think that it would have happened. And Daniel Pineda winning against Herbert Burns.
For me, I knew that Vernon was going to win. I did not know that it was going to be that decisive. I didn't know that it was going to be 104 seconds for the entire fight.
Yeah.
And then, I have to give it to Daniel Pineda, like you did as well. What he was able to do against Herbert Burns, the grappler, magnificent, man. And more power to you. And it really propels you into that spotlight now, main card spot against a guy who a lot of people had their eyes on, the younger brother of a very dominant welterweight. I think Herbert needs to either figure out what went wrong with this weight cut, and there might just be an injury we don't know about or something like that, or possibly move up to 55.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was a crazy card. We have some crazy things happening in this card.
Anything else on UFC 252?
Nothing. Just a big thank you for Daniel Cormier and his amazing career. Yes. I feel like I hope that it's his last fight, because I don't like when fighters that want to retire then they come out again. No, just stay retired. It's all good. You're the best. You're a GOAT. You're one of the greatest fighter that ever stepped foot in that cage. We don't need to see you fight again. It's better off like that. And thank you for everything.
Yeah, 100%. You showed that you are a definite legend in this sport, and I cannot wait to continue to see what is next for Daniel Cormier. Obviously, I feel like this next venture for him obviously stays in the UFC. He stays commentating. He's got so many hats on right now. I just can't wait to see what's next.
So many things he can do. So many.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that about wraps it up, knuckleheads. And if you guys stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Peace.